Hello, and welcome! This is my cousin Francesca.
Hi.
And Francesca makes bracelets occasionally, and we thought it would be interesting if Francesca tried to make a bracelet based on my tutorial, except you won't be watching the tutorial, I'll be teaching you. We've already cut the strings and Francesca's chosen the colours, so that's really exciting. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to start by taping the strings to your workspace. So remember we cut one string that was a little bit longer than the others, so that one should be facing you. So you folded them in half, unfold them, but make sure you keep your hand where the path is, right? Yeah, just keep track of that and make sure that the part with the longer string is facing you because that's the string you're going to be using to create the loop. So yeah, just chuck those away. Cut some tape for you. No, hey, do it next to you. I'm not making it. Yeah, is that the half? Okay, it doesn't have to be super precise because the strings are very long, but it should be roughly in that same space, and I always tape it down twice just in case. Because you never know. So, have you ever made a loop before?
Like once or twice.
Okay, so first
With
of all, yeah?
Just with you, yeah.
Separate the long string from all the other ones. And do you remember how to make friendship bracelet knots?
Oh, yeah.
So you're going to be making forward-backward knots, or backward-forward knots, it doesn't matter. The point is that you're going to be alternating forward, backward, each half. Yeah, so just do a forward knot first. Half.
This is backward, right?
It doesn't matter, that was actually a forward knot.
Oh,
but it doesn't matter, the point is
I
that you're going to
forgot.
be alternating them. So each knot consists of two halves. So if you want to make a forward knot, you would do what you just did twice. But because you're only doing one of them, this is a forward-backward knot. You're switching it. And you're wearing the bracelet that I made you.
Yes. How many of these would I do? Like the knots?
You make as many as you think you need for the bracelet that you're working with. The bigger the bracelet is, usually the bigger the loop would be as well. So basically you just make it for a little bit, and then when you think that you might be done, you can kind of fold it and see visually, and then visually decide. Sometimes you'll get it wrong. Oftentimes I make my loops very big, and I find that very annoying, but it's just a matter of practice. There's no set rule that, like, if you have a certain amount of strings, this is how many knots you should make, kind of thing. It's just, you just kind of figure it out as you go along, I guess. But we can see.
This is so long.
I know, it takes forever. I usually have a 2-camera setup whenever I film these kind of videos, but I don't have a second tripod, so I'm just freehanding it, and it's an interesting experience. Maybe we'll create some interesting shots, I don't know. When was the last time you made a bracelet?
The one for my mom, it was probably like summer of last year.
Wow, yeah. I'm surprised you remember the knots, honestly, because, you know, I've always thought that you don't make them very often, and for a year, that's a while, but I guess it's muscle memory.
Yeah.
If you know it, you know it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've taken long gaps as well between making bracelets. I think I had a gap of like 3 years at one point, and then
Wow.
I got back to it and it was fine, so.
Yeah.
Right, I think that might be enough. Let's fold it and see. So just try to kind of fold it into the shape of a loop. Do you think that that's big enough?
No.
Alright, then make some more.
I'll make...
Let's check again.
Yeah, that...
I think so. Let's do it. I always reuse my tape many times until it stops sticking completely. And now you can fold your loop. Yeah, bring all the string down. And then what I usually do, because I tape my strings to my workspace, I usually thread some strings through the loop, like that basically, and then I tape the strings down. That way I can actually tape it still. Yeah, just put one somewhere and then put the other one relatively close to the actual loop itself to make it a bit easier. Yeah. I'm going to take a screenshot of the pattern and then I'm going to draw on it to show you where we're going to be creating the pattern from. Do you know how to read patterns? I don't think you do. Okay.
I always just look at what you're doing on the videos.
Yeah, okay, no problem. I'll explain what I'm talking about. So you see these little stubs? These are the strings. So the circles represent the knots. The arrows within the circle represent what type of knot we're making. So that would be a forward knot, that would be a backward knot. That's not really relevant for what we're doing, I'm just saying. But these little things are the actual strings. So the circles, every circle has 2 strings coming into it and 2 strings coming out of it. So a backward knot takes the string on the right and then moves it to the left. Again, that's not particularly relevant for what we're talking about, but I thought I'd give you the context. You already know what these knots do, but just visually. So these strings, these little stubs, are what the strings are. And this, what I highlighted here, is going to be the shape. So we're trying to start the bracelet in kind of a V shape. We're going to be making what is called a teardrop loop. So we've made the loop, and now we need to bring the strings in one by one in that order, because that's the shape that we're trying to achieve. We're trying to achieve that V shape. So this is the order of strings that we need. This pattern isn't symmetrical. You have a gradient in which your strings are arranged, or at least there's a gradient in this pattern. You've arranged your strings a little bit differently. So on the right side, first of all, you bring out your color strings in the order that you want them to appear in your bracelet, and then you go in with the 3 strings of black. And then on the other side, on the left side, you start with the 3 strings of black, and then you bring out your color strings in the order that you want to see them. And you want to make sure that the color string here is the first one, that the first one is here, so that they match, basically. Yeah. On the right side, you are going to be making forward knots. On the left side, you are going to be making backward knots. First, you identify the color that you're starting with, which is it for you? This one. So take that string and make a forward knot on the entire bundle of strings here. Similarly to how you were doing it for the loop, basically. Okay. Take the next string that you need and make a forward knot onto the entire bundle except this one. Except the string that you brought out. Exactly.
Yes, I remember this.
Perfect.
I made something like this, yeah.
Nice.
And then the next.
Yep, next color.
And the same with the blacks.
Yep, until you run out of them, because they're all the same string. It doesn't matter which one you bring out anymore. Cool, you've done that side. You can untape this and then tape the other side, just to make it easier for you, because otherwise it might slide out. Mm-hmm. And then make sure to start with the black strings this time. If you look at the pattern, you can see that the background strings are the first that come out. See?
Mm-hmm. And backward knots?
Backward knots on this side, exactly. And that is a backward knot. I think that's the extra long one.
Yeah. Okay, now we do the same order as this?
Yep.
Okay.
Make sure the first color you bring out on this side is the same as the first color you brought out on the other side.
Yes, this is the same one. And it's...
backward knots.
Yes.
Nice, okay. So, there are 2 ways that we can continue this. One way that I recommend, and the other one that I don't recommend, but you can also do. We can connect the bracelet straight away. So there's 2 halves of it at the moment. We would take the string in the center and we would connect it, and we can do that straight away. Or we can start making the bracelet and then connect it later and then go over that connection straight away with another knot to basically help secure it, which is what I prefer to do. Because if you connect it straight away, there's a chance that it will kind of untie as you're making the bracelet. So that's typically what I do, which is probably what I recommend doing now.
Okay, let's do that.
So these 2 are going to be the strings that we connect when we're going to be connecting the 2 halves of the loop. So just make backward knots with the outermost string until here, and then we'll figure it out afterwards. Okay. And then you might want to tape these as well, just so that they're out of the way. At least that's just how I do it, to keep it easier for myself.
This is, yeah.
Not onto the entire bundle, you have to make it one by one at this point. So one by one in the order that we brought the strings out. Yeah.
It's like sideways.
It is a little bit. Starting a bracelet after a loop, specifically after a teardrop loop, is one of the most annoying parts. I find starting bracelets in general the most annoying part of making them. I find actually making them afterwards a lot easier, because this pattern that we chose isn't difficult at all, but starting it can be quite confusing when you're just starting out.
Well, I'm lucky that I have you.
Happy to help. Alright, so now we're going to make everything we can on the other side up until that connection, and then we're going to try to connect them. Up until that connection, we're going to do the exact same thing that we just did basically on the other side, except with forward knots this time. So take the outermost string and make a row of forward knots along each of those strings individually until you run out of strings. We are going to make the most difficult part of this entire bracelet, which is connecting the 2 halves of the loop. And I say difficult, it's just a little bit annoying, basically. So you want to take these 2 strings, and usually they are 2 strings of the same color, so you can make any kind of knot between them. Usually I would just make a forward knot because it doesn't really matter. But in this case, they're 2 strings of a different color, and you actually need them to stay on the sides that they're on, because that is what the pattern requires. See how the teal string has to be on the left, and the black string has to be on the right. So you have to make a forward, backward, or backward forward. I would make a forward backward just to kind of match the pattern basically. So just make a forward backward knot between the two. So start by making half of a forward knot and bring it as high up as it'll go. And I'll kind of help you out here because I can hold it for you so that it doesn't, because if you let go, it might start, when you try to make it again, it might start kind of untangling, see? So tighten it again. And I'll kind of hold it in place for you. At least I'll try. Other half of the knot. So you just made the forward half, make the backward.
Okay.
There you go. And now the reason why I held off to connect the two halves is because I wanted to make sure that we can go over that connection straight away. And that's what we're going to do. So this left string that we were making forward knots with, the black one, makes a forward knot onto the teal. The camera cut out here for some reason, but Francesca made a forward knot onto the teal and then she made a backward knot with the pink onto the black on the other side. So you need to make a forward backward knot between those two strings in the middle. So the black one is going to make a forward backward knot onto the pink one. Except not this black one, you have the wrong black one. It'll be this one.
Okay.
We just made a knot onto that.
Yeah.
So you take the two in the middle and do a forward backward knot with them. Okay, so let's start on the left side. There are two strings on the left, and they are both black. Let's just make a forward knot between them. Then you have 4 color strings that come after this black string, right? So each of these color strings is going to make a backward knot onto this black string, one by one, starting with the string that's closest to it. So this one is going to make a backward knot, then the next one makes a backward knot, and so on for each of the color strings. Then there's 2 strings of black. Just make a knot between them. This can be any knot because they're the same color. Oh, see what happened there?
Yeah, I remember this.
Okay, do you know what to do?
Like, pull this one.
You do, exactly. You just pull it and it pops back in.
And then, oh wait.
And then carefully. It's gonna happen quite frequently in this bracelet. What I also like to do is I like to put my finger on the actual bracelet when I pull it through. Pull it through again, because it popped out again.
Oh. There you go. And then just keep...
Yeah, just keep fiddling with it until it's good, basically. But this is going to happen probably quite frequently in this pattern because there's a lot of forward-backward knots in the center, and you have to go over that connection. So you're going to have to pull that through quite frequently, unfortunately. What we're going to do now is we're going to take the outermost string on the right, and you're going to make a row of backward knots until it reaches the center. So not this black string.
Not that one.
Not that one. Until it reaches the center and meets that black string. So along each of the other ones. It's kind of a variation of a chevron, this pattern.
I love chevron.
Yeah?
It's the easiest.
It is, I agree. It's also a really pretty pattern that you can make so many different variations of. There's so many different chevron tutorials that I've made. So now in the center, you have a black string and a color string. Whenever, in this entire pattern, whenever you have 2 strings in the center, you always make a forward-backward knot. So the left string, in this case the black string, is going to make a forward-backward knot onto the pink string. So if you look at the pattern as a whole at the top, it's basically just a chevron with this one row being different, and we just made it. That is the row where you have all of the strings kind of popping out, right?
Oh, yeah.
See how we brought all those colors out? We did it on the left side. Now we need to orient ourselves by the right side. On the right side, we are on the pink string, right? On the dark pink we just did. So we need to make the lavender, we need to make the teal, and then after that we make the black here, and then we need to do that little color switch again. So let's do that. So do chevron shapes, take the outermost strings, make backward knots on the right side, forward knots on the left side. When the strings meet in the center, you make a forward backward knot between them. And you're going to do that until you make a row of black on the right side.
Wait, did I do that right? No, I missed a black one.
You missed a string, in which case, let's untie it. Do you see my safety pin anywhere? Yeah, I don't even have to explain.
I remember this, yeah.
Nice. But yeah, for the sake of the viewers, you basically just kind of put the safety pin into the string and untie it gently. But good that you noticed. I didn't notice that. Well done. Switching your strings accidentally is one of the most annoying mistakes you can make in a bracelet because it's just tedious to fix unless you notice it straight away like you did. So well done.
Thank you. And then we do this side.
Yes.
And then we do a forward backward.
Cool. So it's basically a chevron, except there's a forward backward knot in the center. And then you do the same thing again until the right side makes a row of black. Alright, so you successfully did the rows that you needed to do, and now we have that little section with the colour strings. We have to repeat it here. So basically that little colour section happens every time that you do a row of black. You do a row of black, you do a row of those little colours, you do another row of black. So you do regular chevron rows until either on the right side or on the left side you make a row of black, then you do the colour bit, then a second row of black. This time we're on the right side, so that's where we're doing it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So start by taking the 2 black strings on the outer edge and make a knot between them. It should just be a backward knot here. It's 2 strings of the same colour, so it can be any knot. But the reason why I recommend making a backward knot here is so that your strings point towards the centre of the bracelet. If your strings point out, it's a bit annoying to work with. You've done that?
Yes.
Perfect. Now for each of the colour strings, they make a forward knot onto that black string. So starting with the one that's closest to it, the one that you have in your hand right now, exactly. Make a forward knot onto the black string, then do the same thing with the next one and the next one for each of the colour strings.
Wait.
You did it with the black string.
Oh.
Perfect, you know how to fix it. And you noticed it, I didn't even have to tell you. And that's it. You continue making the same way you've been making. On the left side, you do the same thing as you always would. You take the outermost string, do a row like a chevron, except the knot in the center is going to be a forward backward knot. So it's the same thing as you just did for all of the previous rows.
Oh, why is that weird?
Why is it weird? Oh, is it a little bit far away?
Should I redo it?
You can just untie it a little bit and then retighten the first part of the knot. So the first part of the knot, each knot consists of 2 halves.
Yeah.
The first half of the knot positions the knot. It is responsible for where the knot is going to be made, and that's why you have that little bit of dragging of that string, because the first half wasn't tightened enough. You don't even have to untie it all the way, just literally tighten the first half. So
Oh.
just get your fingers in there and then tighten it. This is the first half of the knot. This is the second. The first half, when I say tighten the first half, I mean literally just like that. And then you don't even have to redo the second half. You can pull it up and tighten it again. But the first half of the knot positions the knot, and then the second half secures it in that position.
Okay.
So if your knot isn't placed correctly, then the first half is responsible for that. Is that better? Perfect. All right. And that's pretty much it. We've done the entire repeating pattern. It looks gorgeous. Look at that beautiful bracelet. Are you happy with it?
Yes. I'm really excited to finish.
Nice. So as we talked about, this is pretty much just a chevron with a slight variation. The first variation is that obviously there's 2 different colours, and that means that whenever the 2 colours meet in the centre, they make a forward backward knot to make sure that they continue staying on their side. That's the first part. The second part is obviously the little dots of colour that you have. Those dots of colour happen every time you have a black string. So we just made a black string, a row of black on the right, so the dots come after that. Then comes another row of black, and then we're done with the right side for a little while. You continue making the chevron rows as normal. Eventually, you're going to make a row of black on the left side. Once you've made your row of black on the left side, you do the dots on the left side. And again, you remember how to make the dots. The dots just make a backward knot. On the left side, they make a backward knot onto the black string. On the right side, they make a forward knot onto the back string. And then, once you've done your dots, you continue making it as normal until you encounter it again on the other side. And you're just going to alternate it for the rest of the pattern. So it's really just a small variation, and it's a relatively easy pattern to remember, but you can always refer back to the pattern itself to visualize it. Alright, I'm excited to see you continue this bracelet, but see, you also made a beautiful teardrop loop for it as well, and you're continuing with the design. So how did you find it so far?
Well, I find it really easy, and I like how there's a chevron because that's like what I started with, and I feel like a lot of people also start with it. Yeah.
And as I said, like, you can make tiny little variations to the chevron and it creates these gorgeous patterns, and I love that. I love that for the chevron. But then also, this was your first time making a teardrop loop, or did we make that before with you? I don't remember.
I made it once before with you.
Yeah. I think the teardrop loop is a start that people struggle with quite a bit because it can be a little bit overwhelming. I think the most difficult part is also connecting the 2 halves, and that can also be really overwhelming. But the mechanics of it, you just you bring out the strings, forward knots on the right side, backward knots on the left. It's relatively simple. I think once you just have to try it a few times, and then you'll you'll be able to consistently make them for future bracelets. But yeah, well done. All right, I'm excited to see you continue and finish this bracelet. So thank you so much to Francesca for joining me for today's video. I had a lot of fun. We are actually going to film another video tomorrow. Oh my goodness, Francesca has this giant stack of beads. I think there's clay beads. What do you have here? You've got some kind of hearts. These are some kind of different charms here as well. Then you have a bunch of letters. What are these?
Those are like different metal charms.
Like sea creatures.
No, this is like a tree. There's like hearts. Yeah, there's also starfish.
Nice.
Yeah.
So lots of different metal charms in there as well.
Yeah. Clay beads.
Clay beads. These are
seed beads.
perfect.
Those are just balls. Like,
Gigantic beaded balls. Smaller beaded balls.
and then more clay beads.
Yeah, more clay beads, and these are pearls.
And then that's like a set of just normal beads. That's like what you think of when you think of a bead.
Yeah. So Francesca has a very extensive collection of different beads. I've never actually made a beaded bracelet. I mean, I made them when I was a kid, but I don't remember that a lot. And I think maybe we've made a few like 6 years ago when you were a kid, but I don't remember that very well either. So we are going to film another video where I'm going to try making a bracelet of yours. And this is going to be a members video. Channel memberships have launched on the channel, and I'm so excited to offer members some more and extra content. You get early access to videos, you get priority in competitions. One of the winners is always going to be chosen from participating members. You get to vote for videos that I make, tutorials that I release, etc. And you get bonus content, which I'm very, very excited to offer. Thank you to all of my existing members. It is with your support that I'm able to continue creating videos on this channel. And if you also want to become a member, support the work that I do here, and get access to perks, then you can click the join button under any video of mine to do that. But in any case, thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed today's video. Thank you again to Francesca for joining me as well. It was wonderful to have you on, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye.
Bye.